police rescued Haley Hogue by pulling her out of this basement window. They had to break through a layer of glass, which some of it is still sitting along the outside of the house here. Something that you don't see every day. A usually heavily traveled Memorial Bridge now deserted tonight. That's because of rising river levels. Take a look at the Mississippi here. Look how high this water is. There are 6 different mirrors on this semi, but there are still areas the driver can't see. For example, I'm unable to see the motorcycle behind the blue SUV. There's also a motorcycle directly in front of the truck and another one towards the front end over here, which are both virtually invisible to someone sitting behind the wheel. Good morning. Today is Friday, December 13th. I'm Kaylee Pfeiferling, filling in today for Natalie Will.
Good morning. I'm Rich Kane.
Well, we're waking up this morning to a winter weather watch in effect for the majority of the tri-states as we go ahead and take a look out of our Quincy Skycam this morning. Welcome back. In medical news, there's been very little improvement in food poisoning cases over the past 5 years. This is the area where police say a man found the remains while walking his dog around 8:40 last night. Relief among neighbors this afternoon after the standoff ended at this house right behind me.
Behind bars for meth possession.
Charges connected to what's considered the biggest meth bust ever in Quincy.
Charges after allegedly making meth.
Quincy couple is accused of making meth within 1,000 feet of a church.
We've heard it time and time again. Meth lab busts throughout the tri-states.
Burst into flames.
It's happening everywhere, according to Sergeant Patrick Frazier with the West Central Illinois Drug Task Force, even in the nicest of neighborhoods.
I'm not surprised when we find one in a good neighborhood. I mean, it's just everywhere.
The Drug Enforcement Agency says Missouri leads the way in meth production, with more than 1,800 labs seized last year. Illinois and Iowa are not far behind, both ranking in the top 10. As the number of meth labs rise in the tri-states, so does the number of people unknowingly moving into homes, apartments, and hotels that once housed meth labs.
The seller didn't know, and it was never found out or disclosed. It could be.
Susan Boyer is a real estate broker for Farlow Realty in Quincy. Boyer says former meth properties became such a concern for realtors that it was added to the residential real property disclosure report, along with leaky basements, termites, and other potential issues. But the form's effectiveness relies on the seller's word.
Hopefully everyone's being honest and disclosing things like that to potential buyers.
ServPro, the company that cleans up from water damage, fires, and other disasters, also cleans up meth labs. Aaron Smith is the production manager for the company.
We get a call about once every 6 months or so. A lot of times there are more busts than we get calls for.
Smith says if his company isn't cleaning up a meth house, someone is probably moving into it with dangerous chemicals embedded in the walls.
That's caustic. That's drain cleaner.
Sergeant Frazier says when meth-making chemicals like ether, starter fluid, and sulfuric acid mix together, a home's air quality is tainted.
Ingredient in heat, gasoline antifreeze, and it's got poison on it.
Dr. Jeffrey T. Evans with the Hannibal Clinic says residue from those chemicals can cause ongoing health issues such as sinus and lung infections, migraines, and skin irritation.
There's been some discussion, in a meth lab house, once the meth production stops, is there some danger for those kind of chemicals just from the environment? And there probably is some, depending upon the manufacturing methods used and how well that's been contained.
So are you wondering now if you could be living in a former meth house? There are ways to find out. We have a link to the DEA's list of reported meth lab busts at WGEM.com, but many labs are never found by police, so you're best to test your home for chemicals if you really want to know. Officials say it's best to hire a company like ServPro to do a professional test, but there are self-test kits you can buy online. Links to those kits can be found at WGEM.com. Kaylee Pfeiferling, WGEM News. Okay, so Jeremy, is the unemployment rate showing signs of a positive turn?
Well, not necessarily.
Friends and family have started laying these flowers just outside the gas station in remembrance of Arnett, who employees say worked the overnight shift here at Abel's for more than 6 years. Even with security features like these cameras outside nearly every door here at Palmyra High School.
I understand students in Missouri seem to do very well in one particular area of science as well.
That's right. Biology scores statewide rose from 55 to 74%. They were about the same in English, but again, those math scores did drop a little bit. Not every spot along this levee is being sandbagged. Officials actually hired a GPS company to put down flags like this along the levee. That's where they're now concentrating their effort. Leslie, it's a waiting game now for the people along the Illinois River as the National Weather Service expects the river to get to 28 feet in Valley City, breaking the previous record of 27 feet. Something residents in Perry say they're preparing for, but were not expecting.
You look at what the river is now and how much levee's left,
You say, how can it be?
Richard Myers is a commissioner for the Drainage District in Perry. Myers says when he saw the Illinois River flood predictions for this week, which is expected to break a record at 28 feet, he was in shock.
He thought maybe that's almost impossible.
To combat the rising waters, sandbagging efforts ramped up today in Perry with dozens of volunteers filling sandbags, helping to build up the levee. Not every spot along this levee is being sandbagged. Officials actually hired a GPS company to put down flags like this along the levee. That's where they're now concentrating their efforts. Sharon Weesey has farmed in this area for 22 years and is concerned about her land.
But the concern is for the ground, because if it floods, then we may or may not be able to get a crop planted this year, depending on how soon it goes down.
Meyer says his concern is not only with the loss of farm ground, but with what else lies beyond the levee.
The wells for the city of Griggsville are down here, and you certainly want to protect them if at all possible.
All that's left to do now is prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
We do constantly monitor.
Just more of the same. Keep on sandbagging and watching the forecast.
Help is still needed to fill sandbags tomorrow. There will be a staging area set up where County Highway 21 meets County Highway 5. And for more information, click on this story at WGEM.com. Kaylee Pfeiferling, WGEM News. Pike County Sheriff Paul Petty says he was blindsided after being charged with misconduct regarding his duties as county coroner.
I'm very aware of the facts in this case, wow.
A loss for words for Pike County Sheriff Paul Petty, as just yesterday, Pike County State's Attorney Carrie Boyd filed information against him, stating he failed to keep a body from being properly embalmed.
Deputies have often described they don't think